All right, so you guys have sent us a ton of articles about Warner Bros. Discovery, and yeah, it looks like they're making some big moves, some pretty big changes in the entertainment world,
Yeah.
splitting their business in two.
Yeah.
And this deep dive is all about figuring out why they're doing that and what it means for all of us, for the future of what we're all going to be watching on our screens.
Yeah. It's a fascinating move they're making.
Yeah, it really is.
Warner Bros. Discovery, WBD for short,
Yeah.
is creating these two distinct branches, right? So on the one hand, you've got those classic cable channels like your TNT, your TBS, Discovery Channel.
Yeah, the old card.
Yeah, exactly. The ones we all grew up with, or, a lot of us grew up with.
Right.
And they're calling this branch, Global Linear Networks.
Right, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But then there's this other side, the future-facing side, all the stuff that's like, coming up, and that's what they're calling streaming and studios. And that's where Max lives.
Right.
Along with all their movie studios.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so we kind of get the what, right? Like, they're splitting it into these two.
Yeah.
But the bigger question is why?
Why are they doing this?
Yeah.
Right? Well, one thing that's really jumping out from all these articles is that traditional TV, it's losing viewers, like, rapidly. Like, we're talking millions of subscribers lost across all the major companies just this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it seems like WBD's CEO, David Zaslav,
Right.
is trying to get ahead of this, like get ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Like he wants to make the company more profitable.
Yeah.
And he thinks the way to do that is by like separating the old stuff from the new stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that's where all the money is going these days.
Right.
Everybody's talking about streaming.
Yeah. Are these cable bills a thing of the past? Like, are we even going to have these in like 5 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
It really might be.
Yeah.
I mean, Zaslav, it's pretty clear from what he's saying, he's looking at streaming as the key to growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if they split the businesses,
right,
then WBD can focus all of its energy on things like Max,
right,
and attract investors. They want to attract those investors who are all about growth.
Right.
So yeah, this could be like the first signal, like the beginning of the end for those big cable bundles.
Yeah, because it's interesting. It's like, is this them squeezing out like the last bit of profit from the cable side?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we going to be seeing like even more reruns?
Yeah.
On all these cable channels, will all the new exciting stuff go straight to streaming?
It's very possible. Yeah. It seems like they might try and get as much profit as possible out of the people who are still, using cable.
Right.
But then there's also this idea of unlocking shareholder value that keeps coming up in all of these articles.
Okay, can you break that down? What does that even mean?
Yeah, so basically it's like making their stock more appealing to investors, right?
Right.
And so the split, it might make each of those separate businesses like more appealing by themselves. So it could boost the value of WBD overall.
Mm-hmm.
So they could even spin off the cable channels entirely.
Wow.
Like sell them off or make them a whole separate company.
So it's a pretty big move.
It's a really big move.
Like they're really going for it.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but like if they're banking on streaming,
right?
Can they really compete with like the Netflixes and the Disneys of the world?
I mean, that's a really good question.
Like those are some big players,
Yeah, I mean, WBD has like so many of those iconic franchises, right? Like DC Comics, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. I mean, just to name a few.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they might be thinking that they can just like leverage those to draw subscribers to Max.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to create new stuff too, right? Like fresh stuff that people want to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to stand out.
So you can't just rely on the old stuff. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so it sounds like a pretty risky move.
Yeah.
But how does it actually translate to what we're all going to be watching?
Yeah, so think about it this way, right?
Okay.
So the global linear networks, they've got to figure out how to survive with less viewers.
Yeah.
Right? Like as that cable audience gets smaller and smaller,
right,
they're going to have to make some tough decisions about what they're showing.
Yeah, like less scripted dramas and more like reality TV and stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they might have to focus on stuff that's just cheaper to make.
Right.
Right? Or that appeals to, a smaller, more specific group.
Right, like a niche audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They also need to keep in mind that, like, live stuff, like live sports, is still a big draw for people who have cable.
Yeah, that's true.
They've gotta find that sweet spot, that balance between, like, keeping those people happy and also, not spending too much.
So they're like walking a tightrope.
Yeah, it's a tightrope walk for sure.
You're trying to stay relevant and also make money.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. While their audience is getting smaller and smaller.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, so that's one side.
Yeah.
Then you have the streaming in studios.
Right, where it's all about growth.
Yeah.
Like, they just want to get bigger.
Yeah.
They want to compete in that streaming market. And it's tough out there,
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Like, you got Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. They're all fighting for those subscribers.
Yeah.
And they're spending a lot of money to do it.
Yeah. It's a competitive world.
Yeah. Really competitive.
So what's WBD's, what's their play? Like, how do they make Max stand out?
Well, they've got some good stuff, right?
Yeah.
They've got all those franchises, all that intellectual property, like all the stuff we talked about before.
Yeah, like the Harry Potter, the DC Comics.
Yeah, like they could just make a ton of new shows and movies based on that stuff.
Right, because people love that stuff.
Yeah, and I think they're banking on people being like, oh yeah, I love Harry Potter, so I'm going to get Max.
Yeah, it's familiar,
Right.
in a world where there's so much,
Yeah.
content. It's like, okay, at least this is something I recognize.
Yeah, exactly. But they can't just do that.
Right.
They're going to have to make new stuff, right?
Right.
Original stuff that's like,
Yeah.
that gets people talking.
Yeah, like that water cooler stuff.
Exactly.
That makes you want to subscribe.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's hard to do.
It's really hard to do, yeah.
How do you make that stuff? Like, what's their plan?
Well, I think it's, they got to get those big stars, right?
Right.
Get those big directors, the people that everyone knows, and then just let them do their thing,
Right.
Like, trust them to be creative.
Yeah, it can't just be about money.
Right.
It's got to be about, like...
Yeah, it's got to be about vision.
Like, letting these people make their art.
Totally.
Yeah. Like, I mean, think about, like, Stranger Things.
Yeah. That was like a huge hit.
Like, no one saw that coming.
Right.
And it was just, like, so different and so, like, out there.
Yeah.
That it just, like, caught on.
Exactly.
But, I mean, is there a way to make that happen? Like, can you plan for that?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, you can look at what people are watching.
Yeah.
See what's, like, popular. You got to take some risks.
Right.
But there's no, like, magic formula,
And don't forget about the movies, right? Like those big blockbuster films.
Right.
People still love those.
Yeah.
And that could really help Max too.
Yeah, it's like a 1-2 punch, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Right.
Like, if the movie's good,
right,
then people will want to subscribe to Max to see it.
Exactly.
And if there's a good show on Max, then people will want to go see the movie.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like they can help each other.
Yeah, for sure. But it's tricky, right? Like, they've got to figure out when to release the movies on Max.
Right. You can't wait too long.
Yeah.
But you also want people to go to the theaters.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a balancing act, for sure.
So it sounds like this whole streaming in studios thing, they've got a lot to figure out.
Yeah, they do. They've got a lot on their plate.
They're trying to, like, juggle all these different things.
Yeah.
The franchises, the new shows, the movies, trying to get subscribers.
Right.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to handle.
But, like, at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Yeah,
right?
It all comes back to that.
Like, they need to make money.
Right.
And they need to keep their investors happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do they measure success in this streaming world? Like, what are they looking at?
Well, the big one is subscribers, right?
Right, of course.
Like, they want to see those numbers going up.
Yeah.
But it's not just about how many people sign up. It's about how much they're watching.
Right.
Like, what shows are they watching? How much time are they spending on Max?
So engagements is a big part of it.
That's really important because they want, they want people to stay subscribed.
Right. You want them to keep coming back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they have to make, like, a platform that people want to use.
Yeah. And it's not just about having a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
It's got to be good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Right.
If it's all bad, then people are just going to, like, cancel.
Right. Yeah. They're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Okay. So they've got it, like, appeal to everyone, but also make stuff that's good, you know, while also watching their budget.
While trying to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all changing so fast. Like, the rules of the game are changing all the time.
Yeah, it's a crazy time to be in the entertainment industry.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, this WBD thing, it's just one piece of a much bigger story, right?
Totally. Yeah, this is happening across the whole entertainment industry.
Like, everyone's trying to figure out how to deal with streaming. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like we're in, like, the wild west of entertainment right now.
Yeah, it's like anything goes.
Yeah, so where do we go from here? Like, what does this mean for the future?
Big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Yeah. Like, how are we all going to watch stuff in the future? What kind of stuff are we going to watch?
Yeah.
Who's going to be making it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really exciting, but also kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna dive into those questions. We're gonna try to make sense of all this.
Okay.
When we come back.
Right.
For the second part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
All right.
All right. So we're back, and we're gonna keep looking at these two sides of Warner Bros. Discovery. Yeah. Last time we were talking about those global linear networks.
Right.
The cable channels, and it's like they're facing like a pretty tough battle, right?
Yeah.
In a world where everybody's streaming.
It's almost like they're like clinging to a shrinking island,
right?
In a vast sea of streaming content,
Yeah, that's a good analogy. So how do these channels, how do they adapt? Like what can they offer that streaming can't?
Well, one thing that they've still got going for them is live events.
Right.
Especially sports, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about, like, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, like, those big playoff games. It's just, there's something about watching it live with other people that you just don't get with streaming.
Yeah, there's an energy there.
Yeah, it's like a shared experience.
Yeah.
And, streaming hasn't really figured out how to replicate that yet.
Yeah, it's like you're watching it with everybody else, at the same time, like the whole country's watching this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cultural moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe that's the play, right? Like, focus on live sports.
Yeah.
Give people that.
Yeah, maybe they can do, like, behind the scenes stuff, exclusive content,
Right. Like the stuff that you can only get if you have cable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for the sports fans.
Well, yeah.
What about the rest of us?
Yeah, the people who don't like sports as much.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have to get creative, right? Yeah. Like, they gotta figure out a way to make stuff that people want to watch. But it can't be too expensive. Yeah. Because remember, they're working with a smaller audience.
Yeah.
So they gotta make money.
Yeah.
But they can't, spend a fortune doing it.
So more reality TV.
Maybe. Yeah.
More like documentaries, like that kind of stuff.
Stuff that's cheap to make.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe like buy the rights to like some old popular shows.
Yeah. Like the stuff that people just like put on in the background.
Right, like comfort food TV.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they're focusing on like a certain type of viewer, right?
Right.
Like people who aren't really interested in streaming, who just want that cable experience.
Yeah, like the curated cable experience where like they pick the shows for you.
Exactly. Yeah. they're like becoming specialists, right?
Yeah.
They're not trying to be everything to everyone anymore. Yeah. They're just trying to like do one thing really well.
Right, and make money doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one side.
Right.
The global linear networks, the classic cable channels.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side.
Right.
The streaming and studios.
Yeah, where they're betting on the future.
Yeah, that's where they're putting all their chips in.
All in on streaming.
And it's tough, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're up against some serious competition.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, they're all spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
To get those subscribers.
It's a battle royale out there.
Yeah, it's a real fight.
So what's WBD's, what's their strategy? Like, how do they compete?
Well, I think they're going to lean heavily on those franchises.
Right, the big names.
Yeah.
You know, all that intellectual property.
The Harry Potters.
Yeah, the DC Comics, Lord of the Rings, like all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just like churn out spin-offs and prequels and reboots forever.
Right, just keep feeding the beast, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, give people what they want.
Give people what they want. Yeah.
More of the same, but different.
But different enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is that enough?
I don't think so. I think you're going to have to make new stuff, too.
Right.
Like, stuff that's really original.
Yeah, the stuff that, like, gets people talking.
Exactly. Yeah. They got to have those water cooler shows.
Yeah.
That everyone's talking about. The must-watch shows.
Exactly, yeah.
But, like, how do you make those?
It's tough.
Like, is there a secret formula?
I don't know if there's a formula, but you gotta get the right people, right? Like the writers, the directors, the actors. You gotta get the best people, and then you gotta trust them.
Right. Let them do their thing.
Yeah, let them be creative.
You can't micromanage them.
Right. You gotta give them space.
Yeah.
To do their work.
Yeah, like, I mean, Stranger Things was like such a hit.
Yeah.
And that was just like so different.
Yeah, it was so unique.
And weird and like, you know, out there.
Yeah, it was a risk.
Yeah.
And it paid off.
But like, how do you plan for that?
I mean, you can't really plan for it, you know? You just gotta like take some swings.
Right.
And hope that one of them connects.
And be willing to fail.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to fail because not everything's gonna be a hit. You know?
Okay.
And then there's the movies, right? Like the big blockbuster movie.
Yeah, they're a big part of this too.
Yeah, those are still a big draw.
Yeah, and they can help Max.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a big movie comes out in theaters.
Right.
People see it, they love it. Then they're like, "Oh, I want to subscribe to Max so I can watch it again."
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, you know, the reverse is true too, right?
Right.
Like there's a big show on Max, people love it. And then they're like, "Oh, there's a movie coming out. I want to go see that."
Totally. Yeah.
So it's like they can work together.
Yeah, they can feed each other.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it's tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to figure out when to release those movies on Max.
Right. You don't want to wait too long.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to, you know, cannibalize the theatrical release.
Right. You want people to go to the theaters.
Yeah, you got to find that sweet spot. Yeah. You know?
It's a balancing act.
It is. Yeah, it's a real challenge.
So this streaming and studio side, they've got a lot going on.
Yeah, they've got a lot to juggle, you know.
They got to make good shows, they got to make good movies, they got to get subscribers. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
But like ultimately it's all about money, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like they got to make a profit.
They got to show their investors that this is working.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do they measure success? Like what are they looking at?
Well, obviously, subscribers are a big one. Like, they want to see those numbers going up.
Yeah.
But it's also about engagement.
Okay. What's that?
So it's like, how much time are people spending on Max?
Oh, okay.
You know, what shows are they watching? Are they watching the whole season?
Right.
Are they rewatching stuff?
So it's not just about getting them to sign up.
Right.
It's about getting them to actually use the platform.
Yeah, to actually watch stuff.
Yeah.
And to keep coming back.
So they gotta make Max like sticky.
Yeah, they gotta make it like addictive.
Yeah, like you want to keep coming back.
You want to keep watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just about quantity; it's also about quality.
Right. It's got to be good stuff.
Yeah, they can't just throw a bunch of garbage on there.
Right.
People aren't gonna watch that.
Yeah, they're gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, they'll cancel their subscription.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, it's a real balancing act.
Okay. But this WBD thing,
yeah,
it's just one part of a bigger story.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
this is happening all over the entertainment industry.
Yeah, this is a big shift.
Yeah, like how we watch stuff is changing.
Yeah, the whole landscape is changing.
Yeah.
It's a really exciting time to be watching this, you know?
Yeah.
To see how it all plays out.
So where do we go from here? Like, what does all this mean?
Yeah, that's the big question. Like,
Yeah.
what's the future of entertainment going to look like?
Yeah.
How are we going to watch stuff?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff are we going to watch?
Yeah, who's going to make it?
Yeah, all those questions are still up in the air, you know?
Okay, well, we're going to try to answer those questions
Right.
when we come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned. All right, so we're back for the last part of our deep dive into Warner Bros. Discovery and all this change that's happening.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about, you know, why they're splitting the business and how they're doing it,
Right.
and what it might mean for us, for viewers. But it's bigger than just WBD.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is like a major turning point for the whole entertainment industry.
Yeah. Yeah. It really feels like
Like everything's changing, how we watch stuff, who makes the stuff.
Yeah.
It's a whole new world.
So it's kind of like we're at the edge of this new frontier, and the landscape is still being formed.
Yeah, it's like we don't even know what it's going to look like yet.
Yeah. And with this shift towards streaming, like what are some of the big questions that come up for the future of entertainment?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is like, how are we going to find stuff to watch?
Yeah.
You know, like we've got all these different streaming services,
Yeah.
and if every studio starts doing their own thing,
Yeah.
it's going to be impossible to keep track of it all.
Yeah, like how many subscriptions are we going to have?
Right. Like, are we all going to have to pay for 10 different services?
Yeah, it's like subscription overload.
Yeah, and what about people who can't afford that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, not everyone can afford to pay for all these different services.
So it creates like a gap, right?
Yeah, it's an access issue.
Yeah, like between the people who could afford it and the people who can't.
Exactly.
Like, is it going to become like this luxury, thing where only rich people can, watch all the good stuff?
Like a playground for the wealthy.
Yeah.
And everyone else is stuck with like whatever's left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to think about for sure.
Yeah, and what about the type of content?
Yeah.
Like the kind of stuff that gets made?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see like less variety?
Yeah, that's a real concern.
Like, are these streaming services going to be like too scared to take risks?
Yeah, they're going to want those big hits.
Right.
Those shows that everyone's going to watch.
Right, but what about like the smaller movies?
Yeah.
The documentaries, the indie films?
Yeah, the stuff that's like a little more out there.
Yeah.
I mean, those might disappear.
Yeah, because they might not be like big enough.
Right.
For the streaming service.
They might not think it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
You know?
So everything just becomes like this big bland like buffet of
just like the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
But I mean, maybe the streaming services could focus on like specific things.
Yeah.
You know, become known for a particular type of content.
Yeah, like be the place to go for a certain genre.
Yeah, like kind of like a specialty store.
Yeah, like a boutique.
Yeah.
Where they're not going to have everything.
Right.
But what they have is going to be good.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe there's hope there.
Yeah. Maybe.
But it also means that like we have to be more careful about like what we watch.
Absolutely.
What we support.
Yeah, we can't just like passively consume whatever they put in front of us.
Right.
We have to be like more active in choosing what we watch.
Yeah, so what can we do? Like how do we make sure that that the future of entertainment is good?
Well, I think we need to support the creators who are making the stuff that we want to see.
Like the people who are telling interesting stories.
Right.
The people who are pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
We need to like tell our friends about their work.
Yeah, spread the word.
Yeah, share it on social media, you know, like help them get their stuff out there.
Yeah, and be careful about like what we're paying for.
Yeah.
Like
which streaming services are we giving our money to?
Yeah.
That's how they know what to make.
Right. It's like we're voting with our wallet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have to be conscious of that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also kind of exciting, right?
It is, yeah.
Like we have the power to shape things.
Absolutely. We're not just like sitting back and watching anymore.
Right. We're part of it.
Yeah, we're part of the conversation.
Yeah, so as we wrap up, it's clear that this Warner Bros. Discovery thing, it's more than just like some corporate stuff.
Yeah, totally.
It's a sign of the times.
The sign of the times, yeah.
And we as viewers, we have a role to play.
Yeah, we're not just watching, we're shaping the future.
Yeah, and it's a future that's full of both like challenges and opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that we navigate it carefully.
Yeah, we got to be thoughtful.
And that we support, diversity and quality.
Absolutely.
In entertainment.
Yeah, we got to fight for the kind of entertainment that we want to see.
Yeah, so keep exploring, keep questioning, keep demanding more from the stories that we see on our screens.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we hope it's given you some things to think about and maybe inspired you to get involved and help shape the future of entertainment.
That's it for us. We'll see you next time.
See ya.